Hey, how you doing? This is Michael Rice, aka The Connector, with another edition of The Connector Live. Today, topic I'm going to talk about is that compelling story that tells that defines who you are, and we all have that. I mean, we all have a purpose, a reason why we're here. That why. There's always that why, and I'm gonna tell you, if you can find your why in life, why you do what you do, what kind of motivates and what drives you, you can be well into understanding yourself, well into understanding and being able to overcome the obstacles and challenges life is going to send at you, because you can always go back to saying, why am I doing this? I'm doing this for this reason. This is the compelling reason why I move through life like I do and how I do. But one thing we also have a story. Certain stories define us. According to how old you are, of course. I would say I had a full life. I started off, I grew up in an urban environment in North Philadelphia. I was in the service. I traveled around the world, Spain, France, Italy. Yeah, I went to college. I worked for in the community. I worked in the city. I worked for the city. I worked for the federal government. I had a lot of different jobs, a lot of different experiences, as I would share in my stories, and reason why I felt compelled to share, because I want somebody I think I have some things that I have to share, and I want to share my resources and my knowledge with the next generation of people that's coming up, and to my colleagues and peers as they have shared with me. But there's a story. There's always one story that tells a lot about who we are. And when I think about one story that defines how I am, or who I am, I think about growing up in North Philadelphia. I was born at Temple Hospital. I grew up on a little street in North Philadelphia up until the age of like 8 years old. Now I grew up at the kind of the height of the civil rights movement, right in the '60s in North Philadelphia. I went to a segregated school. I was bused to an all-white school in the Northeast Philadelphia from the inner city North Philadelphia. So there was a lot of challenges early on, even at 6 years old, 6, 7 years old, um, that kind of defined my existence. But one story that I just want to share today is um, is on the street that I lived on, right? Like I said, a little street. And I went to church every day. I was pretty well-minded kid. I had my ways. I had my stuff with me. I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't straight up, but I was pretty respectful to adults. I went to church like once a week, Zion Baptist Church in North Philadelphia. And but in the midst of us living on this street, Bavaria Street, North Philly, there was a family that moved next to us. I can't remember what their last name was, but it was all boys. Now, let me let you know, in my family, I had two older brothers. My brothers, though, were 9 and 10 years older than me. So by the time I turned 8 years old, think about it, 8 years old, both of my brothers were out the house. My brother went traveling around the world himself. My other brother joined the Coast Guard. You know, and this is the height of the Vietnam War. So it was myself, my mother, my two sisters, and my father, who worked all the time, worked 2, 3 jobs all the time. So he seldom was around. Um, and so that's the scenario, that's the setting for the story, right? So this family moves next door to us, all boys, very disrespectful, very, very, I would say, nasty. And nasty, I would say, the things that came out their mouths, the way they spoke, uh, very demeaning kind of environment. I remember, and matter of fact, they were so nasty that if they were talking to you, they could turn around and spit on you. There might have been this particular occasion that one of the ones that was around my age spit on me, and we got into a fight. And I tell you, and they were good fighters, right? Because I ended up going home with my tail between my legs and crying. And I went in the house. I told my mother what happened. And my mother turned to me, listen to my story, he told me, he said, go back out there and fight them again, right? And I was like, yeah, but no buts about it. So I ended up going back out there and fighting them one more time. And I'm going to tell you, what got me when I went back out there to fight him wasn't so much I had to fight him again, but nobody in my house came out there. So I'm back out there, and he had his whole family, all his brothers, all in a circle, and we were all in the fight. Back in then, we called it a fair one. Um, but we ended up fighting. That was a final fight, because I don't remember fighting him ever again, and I never remember being disrespected like that again. But the fact that I had to go out there by myself and fight him, but I realized later on that my mother was sending me out there by myself because that's how it was going to be. As a young black man coming up, you're going to go out. You're going to be on your own. Now, later on, I was on my own. Like I said, I went into the service. I traveled around the world by myself. I didn't go in a buddy program. Um, and that's how things are. I think about, I said, one of my friends, Dr. Leslie Grace, we always talk about coming up. And remember what Grandmom said? Grandmom said, ain't nobody coming to get you. You know, ain't nobody coming to get you. You know, and my mom always told me, if you go to jail, then you know what? You get used to it because ain't nobody coming to get you out of jail, right? So you have to solve your own problems. As a young black man, I had to learn to solve my own problems. I had to learn to protect what was my own. I had a younger sister, and she was coming up in that same environment, and I had, as a bit older brother, I had to learn to protect her, right? So that story that defines me is later on I will find myself in many situations where I had to fence for myself against a room full of people by myself, right? And sometimes I was labeled as a rebel, sometimes I was a militant, but that's how my mind would work. And it came from that, determining what your values and what your principles and what things that drive you, right, and to defend them. You know, it's all about you defending who you are and what you are, and defining yourself on this earth. You know what? Nobody is coming to get you. Nobody's going to save you but yourself, right? So you got to learn how to defend yourself, right? So fight for what you believe and believe in what you fight for. And this is Michael Rice, aka Connector, saying keep connecting with your mind, your body, and your spirit, and join us because we're building a magnificent network, one relationship at a time. See us at www.michaelricespeaks.com. Like this if you like it.